So this is a set of notes called Calorimetry. It is in Schoology. You guys know the drill. All right. So the enthalpy of a reaction is what we've been talking about the last few days, right? What are the energetics of a reaction? And when we talk about energetics of reaction, we always want a way of measuring different quantities in the lab. And the way that we measure enthalpy is using a process called calorimetry, okay? We can't know the exact enthalpy of the reactants and products, right? We don't know the actual internal energies of different things, but what we can measure is changes in enthalpy through calorimetry, the measurement of heat flow. So basically, if we have a change that happens, we can measure the enthalpy of that change by monitoring how much heat flows in or out of the system. So there are two kinds of calorimetry. The one that we use most often and the one we focus on in AP chemistry is called constant pressure calorimetry, which just basically means you're doing it in a vessel that's mostly open to the air or at least isn't sealed tight. And so the pressure of the system stays the same throughout the process. Okay, and so the way that you use this is you carry out an aqueous solution in a simple calorimeter such as the one shown. When you do that, you can measure the heat change for the system by measuring the heat change for water in the calorimeter. So let me run you through this real quick. So very simply, one of the most simple calorimeters you can do is just take two styrofoam cups, nest them in with one another, or sometimes you just, in our lab, we have just kind of thick-walled styrofoam containers. And then they have a little lid, and in that lid, you have a thermometer. This one also has a glass stirrer. In our lab, we'll use stir rods, much like we showed you the other day when we were doing the gravimetric analysis, etc. Okay, so inside this is some water, okay, and or a mixture of solutions that you're going to put in there and put them together, but primarily an aqueous solution inside. All right, so when you have a reaction, you go ahead and make that reaction happen in aqueous solution. And when you do that, what you do is you measure the change in temperature during the time that that reaction is happening, okay? And so then what's going on here is you know the change in the temperature of the solution here is going to be the amount of heat that the reaction created. So in other words, we indirectly measured the heat change for the reaction, the delta H, by measuring the heat change for the solution in the calorimeter, okay? How do we do that? Well, our good old friend MCAT helps us do that, right? So we know that the heat that is evolved or absorbed by the solution is equal to MC delta T, where M is the mass, C is the specific heat, delta T is the change in temperature. Okay, so that's the heat change for the solution. Well, where did that heat come from? It came from the reaction. So as a result of that, the opposite of the heat that's heat change in the solution is the heat change from the reaction, or the delta H in the reaction. So thus, if the temperature of the water increases, that would tell us it's exothermic, and we would end up with a negative delta H. If the heat change in the solution is cooling, then we know it's a positive or an endothermic reaction, and so we would end up with a positive delta H. Okay, when we do this, or when we use this simple equation, we assume two things. One, we assume that the calorimeter itself absorbs a negligible amount of heat. We're going to be doing a lab tomorrow that actually deals with that assumption and actually shows us a way to go ahead and calibrate that out. Okay, so, but in our basic calculations that we do with Q equals MCAT, we assume that the calorimeter absorbs a negligible amount of heat. So all of the heat changes are part of the system. The other thing that we assume is that if we have a solution in there, that the solution is mostly water. So as a result of that, we take the specific heat of water and use that as our C in our equation. Even though it's a solution, we can just use the specific heat of water because, again, unless the solution is crazy concentrated, it is primarily water in there, and so therefore it will react sort of like water. So two assumptions, two approximations we make. All right, so that's constant pressure calorimetry. The other kind of calorimetry is called bomb calorimetry, or constant volume calorimetry. And that is actually something that we won't ever, they talk about in the book, but we won't ever ask about, and AP never asks about. So you can expect it will not be on our test, but I do want you to at least know what it is. So we're going to take a minute here and we're going to just watch an overall calorimetry video. It will go over the constant pressure calorimetry we just talked about, but it'll also tell you a little bit about how bomb calorimetry works. Takes a couple minutes. Thanks.
In thermodynamics, we're constantly trying to measure these quantities of energy that go in or out of the reactions. The question should come up, how do you trap energy and measure it? I mean, moving from out of a reaction, where does it go? How do you catch it and how do you measure it? Calorimetry is the answer to this. It's actually a pretty clever technique. What we do is we take a substance that we know very well how it responds to heat. Our favorite is water. And we're basically going to run a reaction and let all of the heat out or in from that reaction go into the water. What we do then is we measure the water's change in temperature, which allows us to figure out how much heat went into the water, and then we conclude, that heat came from the reaction. So we know exactly how much heat comes out of the reaction. Now, it does require a little bit of planning ahead. You have to build yourself a calorimeter. Now, we have two types of calorimetry. We have constant pressure and constant volume calorimetry. I'll start with the easy one. Constant pressure is the easy one. We'll get to the volume in a minute. Constant pressure calorimetry, we also call it coffee cup calorimetry, which will help you remember that it's super easy to make. When we say coffee cup, what we really mean is a cheap styrofoam cup. Heck, go crazy, get 2 styrofoam cups and stick them in each other. You've got yourself the perfect coffee cup calorimeter. Fill it up with some water, maybe put one of your reactants in. Maybe you put some acid in it, so it's got acid floating in your cup of water. Now take some base, have a thermometer in it, and pour it in. Stir. That temperature will change, especially if you do something like hydrochloric acid plus sodium hydroxide. It's an exothermic reaction, so therefore it gives off heat, and sure enough, the temperature will rise in that solution. And it's real easy to measure the start and the finish. You look at the thermometer before, pour it in, stir, look at it when it stops. You've got yourself a delta T. From that delta T, you simply multiply that by the heat capacity of the water, which is 4.184 joules per gram per degree C, and you multiply it by the mass of the water, which you can easily weigh by sticking it onto a scale. Put all that together and you've got your amount of heat, which we call Q. That amount of heat is what was released from the reaction. That's an extensive property. We know the amount. Now you divide it by how much stuff you used, the amount of heat per gram or heat per mole, and you've got yourself the answer to the actual reaction you just ran. That's coffee cup calorimetry. Easy, cheap. Let's shift to constant volume calorimetry. We call it bomb calorimetry. It's the classic way we measure combustion reactions. It's our favorite thing to put in a bomb. Why do we call it a bomb? Well, you take a stainless steel container, you put something highly flammable in it with a lot of oxygen, and you screw the lid on really, really tight, and then you ignite it. Technically, that's what you do when you make a bomb. Now, for us, we don't want it to explode, so we make sure we don't use enough material to blow the thing to bits. But we do use enough to make it get really hot inside, but the volume is set. So because the volume can't change, there's no work done, which means all the energy is dissipated as heat into the surrounding water. Only problem is it's going to cost you a little more this time, because now you need a big container of water, you need the stainless steel bomb, you need something to spark inside the bomb, basically a spark plug, you need wires on it coming out, you need a stir bar, you need all that apparatus hooked together. Oh yeah, an oxygen tank, you got to put the oxygen into the bomb. But once you have all that and you've measured all your quantities, it's no different than the coffee cup. You push a button, it sparks, the reaction goes off, all the heat dumps into the water and the temperature climbs. Once again, you've got a change in temperature that you can change into amount of heat. That's the basis of calorimetry, it works for bomb, it works for coffee cup, and that's how we get the values of delta H for a reaction, and we get delta E for a reaction. So you'll see lots of problems in your book on calorimetry, and it's a really powerful technique on how we get all these values in thermodynamics.
Great. Okay, so hopefully you took a few notes, extra notes there about constant volume calorimetry. I did leave you a space for that in your notes for today.